Good morning. Yeah, I'm giant sized. Wow. Uh, so I want to talk about something that I actually thought was fixed like 3 or 4 years ago, or 3 years ago at least, which is sticky watts. So I always go away in the summers. I don't ride Zwift for about 5 months, and when I come back, I always notice changes in, you know, features or um, group dynamics. But one of the things I have noticed is Sticky Watts seems to be back with a vengeance, right? So I thought this was something that I used to see quite a bit like in 2019, 2018. You see guys just, you know, ramping up the power, coasting, going to zero, going back up to seven, coasting, and just doing that the whole fucking race. Um, and then it sort of just, I don't know, it seemed to went out of fashion, and I just kind of thought, because it was a complaint back in the day, that it had been fixed. And it hadn't. Yeah, it's kind of fucking annoying. So I thought I'd do a video about it because I actually have never been able to do sticky watts with any of my hardware. Um, and then one day I think I was doing like a like a sprint over the top of a hill, and as I come over the crest of the hill, I just stop pedaling, and I'm like, hey, my power seems to still be going here. Like, what the hell? Um, so I started looking into it, and it really comes down to what hardware you're using. So what I've been riding on for since I got the Venge. I bought this bike in 2019, and I think I've been riding on this thing since I replaced it with, at the time would have been the Factor, so that would have been like 21. So I've been riding on this bike off and on since 2019, and definitely it's the only bike I have on the trainer since 2020. And the cranks that this came with were these S-Works cranks, these carbon cranks, really light cranks. And the power meter on this guy is, at the time it was sort of proprietary for Specialized, but actually is made by 4i. This will not produce sticky watts, just doesn't, right? And in combination with the trainer, so I've got a Wahoo V5, which most of the time I use that for power. Occasionally I used to use this. You could go on Swift Power. I've got a bunch of dual recordings. They're mostly close. They're within 5 watts most of the time, except 1 second, 5 second power. Sometimes you get quite a bit of variation there. But this is fairly accurate, and but it's a 175, and cranks these days, everybody's going down. So I've been experimenting with shorter cranks, and right now I've got 165s on here, which is pretty short because I'm freaking tall. But anyway, so this does not produce sticky watts. And typically then, if I don't use any power meter on the pedals, I just use straight up old school Dura Race, and then I just use the power through the trainer. The disadvantage is you can't do dual recording, which I like to do sometimes more for my own confirmation than anything else. The other pedals I have are the Azamoma. Jesus Christ, these Favreau pedals. These are very accurate. I've used these for a long time. I kind of stopped using them a little bit because they've got quite a bit of play. About 4 years old, so I probably need to replace them. So I use these quite a bit. And then what I've currently got on the bike is the Rally RS 200, right? So these are power meter pedals from Garmin. And the accuracy on these is not quite as good as the Faveros, but pretty close, within 10 watts. If you calibrate, it seems to be pretty close. But what my whole point of all this is, what I found is both these guys and the Rallies allow you to do sticky watts. So I'm just going to demo it today, because if anybody doesn't know how how obscene this exploit is, prepare to have your your mind blowing. Okay, so right now power is connected to the trainer. So we can show that here. So, sorry, we can show that here. I'm paired to the kicker. So it's a Wahoo V5. I think I've had it for 2 years. Okay, so I'm just gonna do a couple efforts and watch my power, okay? So I'm gonna just jump. What am I at? 550 watts, 600. Stop pedaling. Now you can see the gradual slope down. It doesn't just instantly go to zero. It reflects, you know, a more natural progression downwards. Now I don't know if that's software based or that's the actual what the power meter is reading, but anyway, more reflects, you know, real life, right? So I stop pedaling. It doesn't completely go to zero, but it definitely comes off the 600 watts right away. Okay, so now I'm going to switch power meters. So I'm going to switch ampere to, as soon as I stop here, so I'm going to switch to the Rally. Okay, so that's the Rally RS, which is connected, so those are pedals, so it's power meter based pedals, yeah, power meter from the pedals. So I'm just going to do exact same effort and then just instantly stop pedaling. Now watch what happens. Okay, get to 600, stop. Oh my God, did you see that? I stopped at 600 and somehow it kept going, even increased power, and it held that for at least a couple seconds, if not longer. So I'm just going to do that again, just so we can all see it again. Okay, ready? Here we go. 600, stop. My guy's still going. At least 2-3 seconds. Now, if you see a guy in a race, and I see a lot of people that don't see this. They don't see it. But some people will do an entire race using this technique, right? Pedal, coast, pedal, coast. For me, it fucking drives me nuts. I mean, it takes a lot of effort and, you know, perseverance to do that. But if you go to Zwift Insider, they've got a good article about sticky watts. And by his estimation, his calculation, by doing sticky watts, you're going to get about a 20 watt boost in your power by using this technique. So if you see somebody who, you know, look on the right board there. Sorry, my guy's covering it right now. If you look on the right side of the Zwifters around you, and you see a guy suddenly go, you know, maybe let me just move my guy and then you can see it. So if you see a guy at the right hand side, so there's me, NB. So watch my power distribution, right? 6, 7.5, 0, 6.8, 7.8, 0, 8.2, 0. So, you know, and I guess guys get good at it. Look, 9 watts, 0. I guess guys get good at it. And it's basically a cheat. And you don't need to do it all the time. You can do it when you're under stress. So you'll see guys do this, you know, when the race is on. It's hot. And you'll see guys go 0, 8. And if you see a constant flashing to red, and then back down to 0, red, back down to 0, the guy is fucking cheating, okay? And call him out. Just call him out. You know, you don't have to be like, you know, irate like me, but you can just say, look, hey, nice use of sticky watts there, buddy. Just let him know that you know, and it's not cool. Now, why does this exist? So my understanding is that there's two types of sort of power meter protocols, I guess. So one is event-based and one is time-based. So my understanding is trainers, and I guess, this guy, it's time-based, which means it's sending signals at set intervals. I don't know what it is, 30 times a second, 3 times a second, but it's going to send information no matter what. The way these guys work is event-based. Now, if you're a software engineer, you understand that term, but event-based means it just happens when something happens, right? So it doesn't send information unless it has information. So you can imagine this pedal, it's sending power information, and I suddenly stop pedaling. Well, it just doesn't send any information. So Zwift receives that and goes, oh, must be a dropout. Well, I'll just keep, I don't want the guy to suddenly just, fall off the screen. I'll just assume that the power that he last gave us is still the current power. I mean, that's a good sort of, algorithm, just use last results, assume we're still doing 200 watts. The problem is, it's an exploit and people use it as an exploit. But, it always comes back to the same thing with Zwift. They're trying to maintain a user experience. I think something like 90%, I think it's even higher, I think it's like 95% of people that use Zwift do not race. So you can imagine that they would, like a feature like that because they just want the continuity of experience, right? And I'm sure there's a bunch of other reasons behind it, but for racing, it just allows this really fucking dirty exploit, and it's used a lot. And it's used, and it's kind of funny because sometimes when you call people out on it, they're like, well, that's not cheating. That's just my pedaling technique. And I'm like, well, dude, come on. Go try that outside and see how far you fucking get. So anyway, enough said on that. I just wanted, if anybody hasn't recognized it, just look for those telltale signs, like this flash red, flash zero, flash red. And just, if you're in a race, you shouldn't have to treat that as a fair result. And, you can either, mock the guy and complain, or, if you feel strongly enough about it, contact the race organizer. But, people should race honestly. They shouldn't do this kind of shit. Just because you can doesn't mean you need to. And, if you look at the guy's stupid enough to have his Strava public, because these guys never have their Strava public, but if he's stupid enough to have his Strava public, just go look at his power file and you'll just see a bunch of rectangles, right? I mean, a normal power file looks like this, and with these guys, it's like, it's totally artificial. So anyway, that's Sticky Watts. I kind of thought they'd fixed it because I didn't see it for a long time, but apparently not. So just be aware of it. Call those assholes out because they fucking deserve it. Okay? All right. So, catch you next one. Thanks a lot.